Today we are now in southern Ontario, Canada. Driving down from up north. There's no highways going to where I just was. So we just took the back roads down. Now we're getting onto Highway 401. 401's always a fun one to drive down after a snowstorm. I drove down this during a snowstorm once and it was crazy. People don't know how to drive on this section of highway. There's going to be probably a lot of semi-trucks smashed on the edge of the road. They always are on this highway 401. You would think in Canada that there wouldn't be as many crashes because they're used to the snow, but it's not true. In fact, my area seems to have a lot less crashes. It's actually kind of rare when we see a crash. I remember, when was it? Last winter, I drove this highway all the way through Quebec. What's making that shaking sound? I drove this highway all the way through Quebec last year, and I must have seen at least 30 semi-trucks wrecked in the median. It was ridiculous. My area has really steep mountains and stuff, and you don't see that on the highways. But here, these roads are pretty flat, but yet you see trucks crash all over the place during snowstorms. I saw one wreck today on the roads. It was 2 semi-trucks, and it looked like they had not even been touched. They must have been there days, and they haven't even towed them. It's weird. In my area, if there's a crash, they clean it up immediately. Not here in Canada. So I'm going to keep the camera going for a while as we go, probably through Quebec maybe, if we start seeing stuff. So I was just up in northern Ontario, and they got about 30 plus inches of snow over the weekend. Today is the 18th, I believe, of February 2025. It's a lot of snow. Good amount. I wonder what there's going to be when I get home. I know there's not as much. I still got quite a ways to travel. It's saying 540 kilometers still I have to drive. I'm not sure what that is in miles, but still got 5 hours of driving to get home just about. Oh, there it is, our first crash of the day. There's a car over there. There's no one behind me. Let's move a little closer to try to get a closer view. So that car's been there a while. You can't even see where it came into the road, or you can't even see where it came from on the road. It's just completely plowed in. Completely plowed in. They don't even try to tow it. I'm surprised that the province doesn't have tow trucks where they take these vehicles and impound them because the driver is careless and didn't call a tow truck themselves to get it removed. So that's the way I see it. If the government has to remove your car, then you should have to pay them to get it out of impound, since you didn't call a tow truck and pay yourself. Oh, there's another one. Look right there. See it? Got a minivan right there. Again, completely snowed in. You can't even see where it came off the road. So that's probably happened during a snowstorm, and the snow stopped falling 2 days ago, but yet they haven't removed these vehicles. Yeah, probably last year I drove this during a snowstorm, saw dozens of wrecks, and most of them were still there about a half a week later. It takes them a while to clean these cars up. I think the snow here is deeper than we realize. I feel like they pushed a lot of the piles down into the ditches. And I notice on my Google Maps, it will show me those crashes before I even get to them, because on Google Maps they have a newish report button. I noticed that it popped up maybe 5 months ago. That report button, if you push it, it will, let's see what it does. It gives me options: crash, slow down, you can report police, construction, lane closure, stalled vehicle, or an object in the road. And it warns all the other drivers before they come upon it. Well, people are reporting these as crashes, even though they're not even in the road. Some of these crashes, or these vehicles that are stuck in the snow, will have a dozen reports, or I think it just says, I don't see one at the moment. I think it'll say something like 9+ people have reported it. Another one just came up on the map, coming up, or maybe not coming up, maybe it's in a minute or two, but showing another one. I don't see it yet. Does anyone see it yet? Like it's right after this bridge. There's a bumper right there sticking out. That's snowbank. I see it. Look on the other side. You see it's in the breakdown lane, completely plowed in. You can barely see it over there. There's a... How did it even get there? I don't know if anyone who's watching this video wants to pause and back up like 10 seconds and look at that. If you're using a phone, which 90% of my followers watch me on a phone, if you pinch the screen and pull your fingers apart, you can zoom into it. Over on the other side of the bridge, there's a pickup truck somehow on the other side of the guardrail, as if it was intentionally parked there. It didn't crash there, unless the guy somehow drove behind the guardrail before the snowstorm, but that's what it looks like. It looks like it was deliberately parked there, and now it's almost completely hidden. Oh, look, there's a semi-truck there to the left. Completely spun itself around. And there's a tow truck, but that guy's not gonna... Oh, nope. He's not there for the semi. He's pulling out another car with the guy still in it. How do you crash on a day when the pavement is clear? I have a feeling we're gonna see a lot more of that today, because we're on the 401 for another 103 kilometers. Then we're gonna be switching to a different highway. Maybe I'll keep recording for that 103 kilometers. So 103 kilometers, we're traveling about 120 right now, so a little less than an hour left of driving. Maybe I'll film until that next interchange. Speed limit here is about 110. That's what I think it is. It's not showing up on my map right now. 110 is about 68 miles an hour. I wonder if anyone watching this video is going to see any cars that I don't see. 'Cause that pickup truck, I wouldn't have noticed that if Google didn't tell me it was there. Supposedly only got 5 to 8 inches. Still something that I'm probably gonna have to snow blow. Usually if there's only a couple inches, maybe even 4 or 5 inches, I don't even bother. I just drive through it. A couple passes up and down my road, it just packs it down, and I don't have to bother snow blowing it. A couple inches of snow, that's what I call a nuisance snow. If it's gonna snow, I would prefer it snow a couple feet all at once instead of a nuisance. There was one year we got like an inch or two of snow every single day for like close to a couple weeks. It was just a nuisance. Because it's just a pain in the butt shoveling everything that little bit repeatedly. Gasoline up here is a lot more expensive than what I've been paying in the United States. I know last night I topped off my fuel tank and I believe it cost like $150 and I only filled up half the vehicle. It's a lot. I think the highest fuel price I've seen up here was about $1.65 a liter. So you gotta times that by 4 for a gallon, and then you got to subtract, I believe it's now 36% is the exchange rate. So your American dollar is worth 36% more here. So you got to do that math. So let me think about this, what that would be in gallons, or what do you think? So we have, I think we'll just do $1.50 times 4, which would come out to $6, right? Is that right? Yep, $6. We'll make it $6.40 because it was $1.60, so $6.40. Subtract that by about 30%. Let's see. So maybe $4. Probably $4.30 a gallon. It's a bit more than I'm paying. My area, when I was last in the United States, I was paying about $2.90. So yeah, it's a bit more up here. I think my math is close enough for what I'm doing in my head. I think we're about to hit Quebec. I think there on the left, that's the last Ontario rest area. I think. So we're getting kind of close now to Montreal. We'll be there in less than an hour. I got enough fuel. We don't. Oh, did you see that? There was another car there. I almost couldn't see it because it was down in the ditch. There was another one there. Driving too fast during snowstorms, and it's unbelievable to me that these people don't call a tow truck, because they're going to end up paying more money when the government has to remove that. And if the government's removing it, that's probably why there's so many here, because they're probably backed up. Who knows how many vehicles we're going to see crash when we get to the more populated areas. In an hour, we're going to be in the city. I feel like it'll get worse, because that's where it really was bad last year. So that one truck that we saw back there that was crashed, maybe that driver had enough control to swing the truck around without jackknifing, so maybe nothing's actually damaged on that truck. I don't know. I don't see anything else popping up on the map. That last one was not on the map. Oh, wait. There are 5 people reporting a crash. I just zoomed up ahead. I can't see it on the regular map yet. I just looked ahead. So yeah, maybe 5 minutes we're gonna have something else up there. Right here you can see there's some drifting snow. There's some areas the highway stays white because it just keeps blowing new snow into the road. I saw that a lot up north, especially where all the farms are. everything's cold in the morning. I've been hearing some kind of noises. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm going to have it, the vehicle inspected pretty soon. I'm not sure what it is. When I'm on bumpy roads, I hear something feels like it's loose underneath. I feel like it could be the sway bar. Maybe it could be a shock going bad. But right now, I don't feel anything. I can go over bumps at high speeds. Nothing's shaky. But sometimes, when it's windy, it feels harder than normal to keep control. Is that truck stuck? No, it's not. We haven't come up to that area yet. It's still not even on the map. But if I zoom out, I can look at the entire map over the next almost a little bit over 5 hours of driving up here. It doesn't seem to show things super far away. Probably because conditions can change. Rush hour. We'll probably go through there at like 1 in the afternoon. We'll be completely out of there by then, because we'll be there soon. What do I see up there? I think there's a big piece of heavy equipment on a truck up here that everyone's trying to pass. If there's someone behind me who wants to drive faster, like right now I'm trying to get around all these people too, and you see I'm keeping a good amount of distance. The people behind me are wondering, why am I keeping this distance? They think I'm just parked in the fast lane and not trying to pass. I am trying to pass. I'm keeping my distance because that vehicle in front of me is flicking salt up and it keeps hitting my windshield. So as I feel that, I keep going back. Oh, look at that. The plow truck crashed. See it there on the left? Even the snow plow crashed. I don't understand how they crash when it's not even slippery. As a kid, a few snowstorms we had when I was living in the city that were kind of fun. There was one year they closed school for like 3 days because we got a giant 3-foot snowstorm overnight. That was fun. They had to use snow plows, dump trucks, because they were clearing it all out of the city. It was too much of it. And they had what was called a snow farm near my house, where they use a whole baseball field at a school. That's where they dump all the snow from the city. They truck it in, dump it there, and it melts. But when it melts, there's sometimes cool things left behind. I even found a fire hydrant in there I brought home in a wagon. Yeah, because when they're clearing the streets in the city, one of the front end loaders must have just clipped it off. I don't know if they noticed hitting it or not, probably. Maybe it was in an icy snowbank and they didn't, but that got thrown in the dump truck and dumped there too. They broke it right off, but when I got home I unbolted the broken pipe. Then it stood up straight as a garden ornament. And I cemented it in the yard as like a decorative fixture. That was fun. So fire hydrants up north are different than the ones in the south. If you hit them or you break them off, they don't start spraying water. Because when you turn the top of it with a wrench, there's a long shaft going down underground, and the valve is actually deep underground so it doesn't freeze. Then you can use it no matter how cold it if somebody hits it, it's not going to open because the valve is actually underground. That's how most of them are up here anyways. I remember the city I used to live in Massachusetts. They said that 1/3 out of all the fire hydrants in the city, they said probably doesn't work. After they did a study on that, trying to flush fire hydrants, they realized a bunch of them don't work because a lot of them, they haven't touched them in decades, and when they turn them on, the pipe is so silted up, nothing comes out. There's another crash. Yep, that's the one that was on the map. There it is. Now it's saying 9 people have reported it, and you see there's I wonder if the snowplow hit that one, because it's only damaged on the back of it where the snowbank is. I don't think the plow hit it. It's not that close to the road, or maybe that's why it's not that close to the road. But maybe it got hit by another vehicle. The other vehicle was on the pavement and it took priority of getting towed. Maybe that's it. But that one there has significant damage that is not from going in the snow. Sign say up there. It's in French, I couldn't read it. But it looked like a sign warning us of more crashes up here. That's what that sign up there looked like. I've always wondered in Canada, how come the entire country has like translations for French, but yet Quebec, they're not inclusive at all. They don't have a single sign in English as you go through it. Most of them are self-explanatory, though, by the shapes. You know what they mean, pretty much. You know what I saw the other day that was cool? I wonder how well it actually works. They now sell hearing aids on Amazon that translate voices around you. Pretty interesting if you were traveling anywhere. Google used to be really good as far as, oh, look at that sign there fell down. Google used to be good at asking questions about directions. They did a stupid update years ago, and even my newer phone here that I've only had a year, still, they never fixed it. So it's not an update issue. They just never fixed it. I used to be able to ask Google, where am I? It would give me the closest address. Now if I ask where am I, it will tell me where I started, which is stupid. It used to also be able to tell you, I'd ask it, I'm not going to say it because it'll trigger it, but it would be able to tell me how far until I hit so-and-so border. I used to be able to ask it as I'm traveling, how long until I hit this border of this state? How long until I go through this town? All that kind of stuff. I could ask it, how long ago did I drive into this state? I used to be able to ask it all kinds of things, and it used to be able to answer me with perfection. It does not do that anymore. I don't see the border on here. It's not extremely clear on this map unless I zoom in and really look at it, but I'm not doing that right now. Okay, I see it now. The border's easy to find if you look at the Great Lake, and then you can just follow it. No, that's not the Great Lake, that's a river there. But that's where I was able to find it pretty easily, in the body of water next to me. Because around here's a lot of farm fields, and the white dotted line of the border doesn't show up very well over that kind of satellite image. Blends in nice, except over the blue water. Then you can locate it and follow it in nicely. Yeah, we're still in Ontario. Maybe that sign back there was flicking back and forth from English to French, and I only glanced at it when it was in the wrong language. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, we're not in Quebec yet, but we're getting close because we'll be in Montreal in 66 kilometers. Especially in the warmer months. Tourist season after rush hour. Get rush hour and the tourists combined. That's the worst time to drive through the cities here. Just because there's traffic jams. But the drivers here, at least when it's not snowing, seem to be a little more considerate than most places in the US, I've realized. Here Canada, almost always, if you're trying to merge or get in somewhere, someone always lets you go. That's actually quite rare in the United States. Especially Massachusetts, specifically. And I'm realizing northern New England is starting to get worse, and I don't know why that is. I really noticed that when I came back from Florida last year. I was down in Florida for a while, and I was amazed because Florida has a lot of people living there in that state. There's like 21 million people compared to my state of only like 1 million. There's a lot more people there. There's a lot more built up. There's a lot of traffic, but there's not a lot of people that are almost crashing into you on a daily. So I realized there, for it being so populated, even northern New England, which is rural, in my opinion, was worse than the people on the road in Florida. Don't know why. And I've also realized in my area, and I've talked to my family and other people about it, and they were like, oh yeah, that's true. For some reason, 90% of the time, the bad drivers are in a Subaru, and my grandfather seems to think it's because it's an old people car. A lot of old people drive those, and that's probably why, but I don't know. Florida also has a lot of old people. It's known to be a retirement state, and I don't see that down there. So I don't know what it is. When I look at those drivers, they're not all old either. Are you gonna see any more cars? Because we got the warning signs up. I don't see anything else on the map. I don't see any more warnings at all right now. Nothing. I also realize that Quebec really tries to be hard, tries hard to be different with a lot of other things too. Like, I go into Canada, everywhere accepts my Easy Pass transponders, except Quebec. They're the only spot that won't take it. Ontario has taken it. Nunavut has taken them. They'll take it. They'll toll through it. Everywhere in the United States will take it, even though there's different transponders all over the country. I believe there's 7 or maybe 11 different transponders, but they're all compatible with each other's systems. Not Quebec. The first 2 times driving through Quebec, I assumed their fast lane was going to accept me. I drive up to it, it gives me a red light with no option to pay. So I can't read anything, it's all in French. I assume it'll be like a lot of states. It'll just send me the toll in the mail. I just drive through the red light, never get the toll in the mail. Then, after that happens the second time to me, I just start driving through the toll booth where you can just tap your credit card. That's what I started doing now because their transponder will accept my car. Don't know why. There's another crashed vehicle there. It's also been there a while. You can see they put caution tape around it, but it's not making the car any more visible. The yellow caution tape against the white snow, that's nothing compared to the black car. That shows up a lot better. They gotta get some orange remember when I first started driving, I took a trip down to Pennsylvania to see the turnpike tunnels and the abandoned turnpike tunnels. So I took a drive down there, and that was the first long trip I ever did by myself. And considering other trips I've done, that's not even long. I now go to Pennsylvania probably twice a year or so. But that trip, I did not have the Easy Pass. Massachusetts did pay by plate. Connecticut did pay by plate. And New Jersey did pay by plate. Pennsylvania did pay by plate, which was a big pain in the butt. That's why I ended up getting Easy Pass. Because when I got home, a couple weeks later, I had to write out a bunch of checks for like a couple bucks, which was a bigger pain in the butt than it was worth. I had to waste a bunch of stamps, spend more money in that sense. But New York did not have pay by plate, and they didn't make that extremely clear. So I ended up getting I think it was like a $7 toll, which is pretty high, with a $50-something processing fee for failing to pay the toll. So yeah, definitely got the Easy Pass, and it's worth it. Makes things a lot easier when you travel long distances, and the toll roads, if you got to get somewhere fast, it's a lot faster than taking the non-toll roads, depending where you are. When I'm traveling, filming stuff, we actually avoid the highway most of the time because you're blowing past interesting things. But I do get on the highway to get through cities fast. I have no interest in the cities. I'm a nature photographer, abandoned building photographer. The city is no place for that. I'm not getting good fuel mileage on these roads. Because right here, these roads, I think, are all slightly uphill, passing a lot of people. Right now, I've been driving now 4.5 hours, and my map just said police reported ahead. And there's a truck there that someone will probably eventually report as stalled vehicle. But I was going to say, I've been on the road now about 4.5 hours, and the average MPG is 16.3. A little worse than usual. I usually average about 18, 19. But when you drive faster, you use a little bit more fuel, especially on these. Most of these roads are uphill because Quebec is high elevation. There we go, another truck. Did that truck come from the other lane, or it looks like it's spun around from this side? Yeah, it's completely plowed in. That must have happened during the storm, and it just hasn't been touched. Still not as many trucks as last year during a snowstorm. You know what I didn't look at on that truck? The next one we see, I want to see if they even have tire chains on, because that's probably why they're crashing. These hills aren't severe, so it's not mandatory like in some areas. You'll have signs saying you gotta chain up. Even four-wheelers gotta chain up. I don't see signs like that around here. In Maine, we have a few roads like that, but they're like logging roads and stuff. I've never seen a public road in Maine that says you gotta chain up. I've seen a couple in Massachusetts that say you gotta chain up if the roads are bad, like the hill towns. There's just one hill in the hill towns, I forget where it is. I think it's in Tolland, Granville, somewhere around there. Granville, Massachusetts. It's a regular main road, but then you got this big sign overhead, like a big highway sign. It looks very out of place. Massive warning sign telling you this steep hill with sharp corners is coming up. That one there, I believe, tells you you gotta chain up. Tolland, Granville, I think is what that township is called. times here, I also have observed in the past, diesel is usually cheaper in Canada than gasoline. It's the opposite in the United States. United States diesel is always a bit more money, sometimes $1 more, sometimes 50 cents more. It costs a bit more to get diesel fuel. In Canada, diesel's usually cheaper. This is the first trip I've ever gone to Canada where it is higher than gas by a good amount. Diesel's now like $1.78, close to $2 a liter. That's a lot. You do that math, you're probably up 5 something a gallon. At least fuel prices in the United States I've been seeing steadily dropping over the past couple months, which is nice. They spiked a little bit in January. We spiked up to about $3.30, but now we're back down to like $2.90 the last time I was getting fuel. We'll probably get fuel tonight on my way back once we cross the border. I try not to get fuel here because it costs like twice as much. And for these Canadian trips, that second fuel tank really comes in handy because you rarely ever have to fuel up. Showing me an interchange in 41 kilometers, which I always thought was Montreal. Is it not? How big is Montreal? Well, I have a interchange we're taking in 41 kilometers, and I always assumed that was Montreal because it is a city. Maybe it's not. I know I've definitely driven through Montreal, so Google Maps will usually have me drive on the outskirts where you can still see it. If you are driving in the middle of the night, like at 1 in the morning through Montreal, it'll actually send you right through the center of the city because it's faster in the middle of the night. During the day, it's not faster because of traffic. So Google will switch that up. What it's doing today because it's hit or miss. Sometimes the map will send me through a Vermont border checkpoint. Sometimes it'll send me through a New Hampshire border checkpoint. It all depends on the road conditions and traffic as Google Maps tries to spread it out. There was one border crossing in the summer. There was so many campers and buses and stuff returning back to the United States. And the line just wasn't budging. It was huge. So I got out of the line on the highway and took the first exit. And then I just went through one of the small town border crossings, and I got through in like a minute. There was no line at all. I'm surprised more people don't think of that. I get comments about asking me if I ever get hassled at the border. It's hit or miss. It's honestly 50-50 if that'll happen or not. There was one time I got the vehicle searched to such extent that they opened door panels, they removed the spare tire, opened the hood, looked through a whole bunch of random stuff. They opened a bottle of Dawn dish soap and spilled it all over the back seat. That was the worst one. They searched the vehicle for like 2 hours. And I've been searched numerous other times. One time when I pulled a trailer over the border, they wanted to search through that. But that time there, they were very friendly, and they only searched it for like 10 minutes, and they even let me be there with them while they searched it. And they were, I think that they had me there because they wanted me to open certain components. Like there was a metal toolbox on the tongue of the trailer that they couldn't get it open. It's a stubborn lock. You have to actually hit it with a rubber mallet to get the lock to function. So that's probably why I was there. But they didn't care about certain things. Like the trailer had 8 5-gallon cans of gasoline in it. They didn't care about that. Because that was when I went off-road for a while. They didn't care about that. Here's another car. And sometimes they're super friendly. You're through the border in under a minute. It all depends who you get at the border. It's their job to be suspicious. They can legally search anyone they want. They don't need to give a reason why. And some of the border agents, even if you stutter or do something strange, they might think you're lying and search you. Look at this, another truck crash. Now that's a recent one because it took out the whole snowbank with it. But the driver managed to keep it upright, which is impressive. That was a steep hill there. You could barely see the truck down there. But yeah, as far as entering the United States, I was searched once, but only for 5 minutes. As far as entering Canada, I think I've been searched now 4 times, sometimes hours-long searches and interrogations. I don't get searched in the United States because it's my own country, is what I believe. They always say welcome back. When Canada has to make sure you're not up to no good, they'll sometimes make you open your bank account to make sure you can support yourself while you're in the country, because they will say, well, we don't want you to become broke where you just never leave the country. So they'll sometimes ask you to open your bank account. They'll make you prove what your job is. They've made me open my phone before to look at different accounts and stuff, because they want to make sure I'm not working in the country, since I frequently go back and forth. Making YouTube videos does not count as a form of work. That is a loophole. You do not need a work permit to make YouTube videos, because I'm being paid by YouTube in the United States, and you're allowed to make videos and film whatever you want. They interrogated me once about the YouTube videos, asking me, is somebody telling you to come to Canada to make these videos? Is somebody paying you for these work you do in the videos? Nope, so it's legal. They're just videos I do on my own. So they can't really say anything about that. And since they've had me open that a few times, I guess some of the border agents watch my YouTube videos now, and they recognize me every time I cross the border if it's those certain people, and when it's those certain people, I just never have a hassle anymore. They just seem to let me right through without an issue, so that's good. Now we're officially in Quebec. I'm surprised the vehicle didn't say anything. It'll usually say something. Maybe I didn't hear it. Now I'm trying to think. Oh yeah. So, one thing I always found weird about the Canadian border, you are not allowed to bring pepper spray, a teeny little thing, over the border, but yet they'll let you carry bear spray over the border, which oftentimes will even kill the bear, which is considerably more dangerous. One time they confiscated a 3-inch pocket knife because they said, we'll let you have it, but we're going to send you back over the border with it, or we'll confiscate it. And I was like, just confiscate it. It's a $10 Chinese knife. I don't care about it. They confiscated it because supposedly in Canada you can't have a knife that you can open with one hand. you need to have two hands where you grab the blade and open it. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter that it was 3 inches and I just use it to open mail and stuff in my console. Nope, you're not allowed to have that. But yet, they'll allow me to come over the border with a 2-foot machete. I don't understand it. But that's how it is. I do understand certain knives, like maybe the ones you push a button and it pushes the blade out with extreme force. Something like that. Maybe I understand that. But at the same time, if someone wants a weapon, they're going to make a weapon out of a screwdriver. It don't really matter. But during being searched and stuff, they have told me that I seem extremely prepared because I have toolboxes, all kinds of stuff in here. But now I know when I come to Canada, I bring a pocket knife, but it's not that tight. And the vehicle here always has at least one container of bear spray in it. Because I'm always going out in the woods. Try to always go through the same border because they start to understand that I oftentimes will have weird things in the vehicle, I guess. Like one time they questioned when I said I was going camping when it was like negative 30 degrees. They were like, what do you mean you're going camping? That was just a very rude seeming guy that thought I was lying about going camping in the middle of the winter. That's the answer to that question. A lot of people ask me, it's like 50-50 what's going to happen at the border. Maybe they're bored, maybe they have nothing better to do certain days, maybe sometimes they're just overpacked. It doesn't seem to actually matter. I've been searched on extremely busy days. I don't think that really matters. Snowblower. That is cool. I've actually seen a couple of those on Facebook Marketplace. Like used ones that were in fairly good condition because they were maintained by like an airport or something. Those are cool machines. But they're very heavy. They're usually a 10-wheel dump truck that's pushing that. They're too heavy. You need a CDL license that own that thing. Driving on the roads. Because I was kind of surprised to find out that even a 6-wheel dump truck, they weigh anywhere from 20 to 30,000 pounds empty sometimes. When I looked that up. Because I almost bought a 6-wheel dump truck with a plow just to plow my dirt road. But too heavy, and I could have got away with using it for what I wanted, but can't bring it on the road legally, it appeared. Especially not with anything in it, and it's useless without anything in it because it's rear-wheel drive. You can't get traction when you're plowing with that. I did notice when I was looking at vehicles like that for doing work, there was another one I thought about putting a plow on because it was actually a lot lighter and it would have been within compliance with weight limits, and that would have been cool too, because that thing could have pulled an excavator at some point in the future. But I don't have the property for that at the moment. Vehicles like that, trailers are turning things around. Put a lot of, another crash right there. You can see all the snow disturbed. I've been putting a lot of thought into moving to a state like Kentucky, because land is very cheap there, and there's a lot of farms for sale that don't seem to have anything wrong with them. I've been putting thought into that, but I kind of like the cold weather. I don't really want to move south. Even the properties I've looked at in Maine are kind of expensive. And there was this one building I went to look at in Maine a couple of weeks ago that is owned by a logging company. The logging company was going to give me a deal on it, but when I went there to look at it, I found a shocking amount of issues with it, and I just didn't even put in an offer for it. So it was cool. It was a 12-acre farm, but it had the ability of adding on up to 1,000 acres because it was owned by the logging company. Well, it had barns and stuff. It even had dog kennels and stuff, like for farm dogs, or you could put maybe huskies in it that wouldn't care about the cold. But when I was inspecting the building, and I know a lot about inspecting abandoned buildings, especially after owning my building. My building was bought on auction.com, and it had every issue you could have imagined. It needed almost every window to be replaced. It had fog in them. They were leaky. It had an abandoned 1,000-gallon oil tank underground. It was a hazard. It had water damage because the bank that owned it let the pipes freeze and continue leaking because they didn't shut the well off. It had water intrusion issues. I had to excavate and put new drainage into the basement. It needed a water heater. Needed all the plumbing replaced. It had electrical issues. Had a good roof. That was a plus side. The porches needed to be demolished and rebuilt. That was a mistake. That property had every issue you could have imagined before I fixed it, and it still has crooked floors and stuff that I can't really fix because I'd have to completely unfinish the basement to get to those beams. So for that issue, I've become pretty good with inspecting things, and what I found in the house that I was looking at was, before I even went in the house with the logging company, while I was waiting for them to show it to me, off the bat I noticed big cracks in the chimney. And if the chimney was to fall over, it would probably go through the roof. Then when I went inside, I noticed the flashing around the chimney was leaking. There was stains going all the way down and all the way to the basement where you could tell water pools when it rains. Again, every window in that house was defective. The deck was defective. It had a brand new furnace. That was a plus side. It had 3 bathrooms, and the toilets in the bathrooms, I looked on the cover of the tanks, because if you look underneath the cover of a toilet tank, it'll tell you the date of its manufacture. Well, I thought it was cool. They had blue toilets, they had pink toilets in one of the bathrooms. It was like something out of the 70s. I looked at it, it was actually older than that. It was like from the 60s. Well, the house was built in the 80s. They thought they were cool, and they bought used toilets to put in the house. I think they're cool too. They're just not efficient. A lot of the older toilets, the tank is bigger than the bowl. What that means is if you clog it, it's probably going on the floor. I learned that a lot as a kid growing up in an apartment building built in the 20s. It had very old toilets that were easy to overflow. New toilets, you can flush them a couple of times and they won't overflow because they're water conservative. But the toilet I have in my house that I put in, it only uses 1.5 gallons per flush, so you can fill that bowl a couple times. Those have powerful flushes. They're not like the old-fashioned low flow where you got to flush it 1,000,000 times. They're powerful. If you've ever seen my old food videos, that's how we dispose of them. But the plumbing in that house seemed to be good. The logging company left the heat running in the house. So what they told me was it was a house that was owned by an old couple. They used to raise livestock. They had pastures. Well, they're selling it with only 12 acres. The old couple sold it to the logging company for $2 million with 1,000 acres of land. They logged it, subdivided it, and now they're selling a bunch numerous issues I just did not want to deal with. I'm not going to deal with the issues it had. Oh,
In 3 kilometers, use the right lane.
I forgot to mention.
29 for auto 30S from Sorrel Tracy.
That house was a log cabin, and a lot of the logs on the bottom were rotten, and all the doors on the house were defective. The patio door it had claw marks from like a bear trying to get in. It was so rotten, I can't believe it didn't get in. It just had a lot of problems. Even the barns had issues. They were structural, but they needed work. That was the thing I didn't want to get into. So I just gave up on that. And apparently my bank told me if I want to get a mortgage, I gotta wait a year. So that's another downfall I realized. Because they're like, well, you gotta have 3 forms of credit. And I'm like, why? I have 1 credit card through you guys. Why do I need 3? And they're like, it's the rules. Even though they can see that I always pay everything on time. They even told me to get my electrical bills, internet bills. I could use those as lines of credit. Then they said, nope, this isn't enough. Made me do that for nothing. I was only trying to get an $80,000 loan on that property, which compared to a lot of loans, I didn't think was a lot. I really didn't think that was a lot. And I was only seeking a loan for 5 years.
In 600 meters, use the right lane to take exit 29 for auto route 30S toward Sorrel Tracy.
Maybe we'll try again in a few years to buy a piece of land
Use the right
with
lane to
cash
take exit
instead.
29.
Just forget the mortgage thing. I'll just save a couple years and try to find something to build on. Okay, this is not the interchange I thought it
In
was.
600 meters, use the right 2 lanes to take the auto route
I'm thrown
30S
off right
exit
now.
toward Sorrel Tracy, Quebec.
I'm not going the same way I usually go. You gotta pay attention. There's a couple of corners here.
Use the right 2 lanes to take the auto route 30S
Okay, I
exit.
see what we're doing. A lot of snow in this lane. Gotta be careful.
Continue on auto route 30S for 61 kilometers.
You hear that? Road salt. It don't take much to crack a windshield. A little pebble will do it. It's happened to me before. Look at the size of those snow banks. Wow. Look how deep the snow is. It's deeper than the truck. That's because it's snow drift. They gotta continuously keep plowing this because it's blowing out of the fields. Gotta be careful here not to slip. Losing another lane. There's no one around me. Actually, I'm gonna stop for a moment. Because I want to look at something. This isn't the road I usually use. I want to also plug this in so we can record a little longer. Hopefully it charges faster than it's draining. It's on 10% battery. So we'll go a little further. Auto route. Another 59 kilometers to the next junction. Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of, but I don't even think the highway I'm on right now is typically what I take. Okay, the whole highway's clear behind me. Getting low on gasoline too. Let's fill it up. Click. Let's see if it works. Been having a few issues with that lately. Look at the drifting snow. I think that's really pretty, but that can be a hazard when it creates ice. Some of these areas they gotta keep plowing repeatedly, even when there's no snowstorm. And there's no thaw coming anytime soon for Canada or my area. We weeks. We're not going to start thawing until at least March. And we're like right now in the third week of February. They said we're not going to have a thaw anytime soon. My house is supposed to have 5 inches of snow maybe next week. Again. Can't wait to see how much snow there is there. I kind of want to take a trip to the truck camp this week. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of snow there. I really want to camp there. Everyone keeps saying that the truck camp's going to collapse in the winter. Well, that's why I put a steep roof on it. I guarantee you there's no snow on that roof. It's so steep. And the A-frame I built is not even close to half the weight of the snow that truck can handle. It's up north. It's been parked there 30 years. It has seen 5 feet of snow. I almost guarantee it. I've personally seen it with 3 feet of snow on the roof. Now we're driving under a canal. That's kind of cool. Just drove under a canal. Now we got a toll, so where's my wallet? Yep, this is one of those Quebec tolls. It will not take my Easy Pass. It'll give me a red light. So I gotta get my credit card out and tap. Stopping right there. What is wrong with you? Nice. My window went down nice. I thought my window was gonna break this morning because the motor was going. I thought the motor was going bad. I guess it was just so cold up north. This guy's paying with cash. That's why he's going so slow. He's probably reaching for cash. I'm not paying with cash. Oh, the person doesn't take the cash. I don't know why the person's there then, if they still got to put it into a machine. All right, it's our turn. Just tap the credit card. I'll have to look back at the video later. What did that sign say? What did I get charged? I believe it was $2.60. Okay. Detailed when you're driving, I think, so it doesn't distract you. Current temperature outside is 6 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's about -15 in Celsius. Very, very windy here on this bridge. You can really, really feel it trying to push me. Sometimes have issues with that. Well, I had 2 issues with it, so I don't necessarily trust it. 2 times the motor got stuck on the fuel pump, and I just heard it humming outside. It's proving to be difficult to find a replacement since it doesn't have any serial numbers on it. It's made by a company in Florida. It appears they used some kind of probably foreign part because it doesn't have a number on it. And the company that makes it gave me a model number and it was the wrong pump. car, bringing it in person and seeing what other fuel pumps they might have in stock. Just getting the closest one. They're all the same voltage. I don't think it'll matter. This cold, the piles of slush in the wheel wells get bad. The ice just gets so hard in these temperatures. Every bump I can feel it, the tire rubs against something. I think the whole wheel well is just full of slush. It's what it was yesterday when I heard that. I had to chip it out of there. Now we got a good view up here. explore abandoned hydroelectric dams everywhere. And you know what? In those videos, some of them are still holding back water, but they're not functioning because they were shut down because of fish. But yet, they're still not allowing fish up because the dam is still there. Just abandoned, holding a reservoir, dangerous if that ever breaks. I know of a couple reservoirs that are full. They just abandon them with the discharges open, which are completely clogged with debris now. I know of a few of those. It's a bit sad. Well, I'm not seeing anything really exciting happening now, but I bet when I shut the camera off, we'll see something interesting. This is how it usually use different designs and do different things. Some of them, they have actually proven decrease sound next to the highway, but amplify the highway for houses that are further away, the way it directs the sound up and over. Most of them are like this, just flat walls. Every now and then you'll see ones that are tapered at the top towards the highway. You see different things. They're usually made out of wood. These ones look like concrete. The snowbanks are real high here. It might be because of the guardrail. They can't throw it as far. Or maybe it's just deeper here. Or a lot higher elevation. But this storm was cold. It was fluffy snow everywhere. Even down south a ways. Although the same storm, I think, down south, like Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, it was mostly rain down there. But this far north, there was no mixing. Alright, now there's no guardrails. Now we're going to drive through farms for like 20 minutes. Then we're going to drive through another neighborhood. Slowly but surely getting more urban. But we're missing Montreal, this route it's taking us onto. mountains of snow and stuff, but it's kind of hard to tell with the snow drifting. It's kind of filling in any holes and then smoothing everything out in this area. Maybe he was weaving, trying to get away from this truck real fast. I'm not sure. This truck is slowly dropping something that's bouncing around. I'm not sure what it is. Corn? I keep seeing little bits of something that's bright coming out of it. I don't know. Maybe we'll get the passing and read what that says. If we can even read it. wasn't focused for that big bit falling off. It just snowed. It's all fluffy stuff. Nothing should be icy flying off of vehicles today.